Oh, there's so many different points. I think a lot of it's happened with just my own life, of just the frustrations and the challenges you experience trying to use software. Especially as someone who builds software, you can actually see so many cases where you look at something and you think, oh, I would have built this differently. But then you think about all the things that go on with the teams. Who's managing that team? What are their goals and objectives? How long have they been given to do this? And you realize it's a lot more complex than you might think. We can just assume maybe everyone else is terrible and we're great, but we need to actually have a bit of humility, sort of step back and see a wider problem with how we deal with software and how we deal with software teams. Yeah, so if we're looking at our own team, I think a lot of teams have encountered cases where new deployments break something or cause problems for customers, and it's hard to think of specific cases or to give the details or context required for those. But in each case, generally there was something very small. It was something that no one would expect to break or go wrong. Often the things that you think are going to go wrong, you're checking for those, you're aware of those, and it's something you've not thought about. It's something at the margins, at the edges, and yet the problem it can cause can be really terrible for people. And the way the team tries to respond is just to be sensible, recognize each other's humanity, that putting people under stress unduly doesn't necessarily help resolve anything faster. And the key thing is to fix the problem, make sure that people are dealt with in a good way, and then afterwards to review what we can learn and improve the process for the future. I think those teams need to just be very honest and open. There is no harm in saying that something is a problem. And of course, if people in management then say they don't want it anyway, to some extent they have to bear that responsibility themselves. The team should also recognize that if they're given a responsibility to achieve a certain deadline, they have a responsibility to communicate back that this will cause problems. Here are the things it could cause, here are the problems that might happen. And teams should, and managers as well, should recognize that burnout can occur in teams who are continually under this kind of pressure. If a manager believes they can just press their team to keep doing more faster, eventually there will be mistakes. And you can hold the team to account to a certain degree, but ultimately, if the reputation of the company or its directors or shareholders is on the line, then whether the teams take responsibility or not doesn't really matter. You can fire them, you can do what you want, but the company is going to suffer anyway. So managers need to recognize they have a huge responsibility to learn how their teams operate and talk and build trust with them. I think there is nothing better than getting together with people who all practice your craft. Software engineers are a great bunch of people to hang around with. You can think of a typical nerd, and then you come to a conference and you realize that everyone is different. There's so much diversity. One of the things I particularly love about DPC, Dutch PHP Conference, is the range of people from different ethnic backgrounds and different countries. Most of the Europeans, for example, I know, as a British person, I know through the conference scene. And it's really wonderful to be in a hallway, all these different talks, and you're hearing so many different languages spoken and hearing all these different experiences and realizing just that everyone does stuff differently. Oh, I mean, I don't know if it's a single frustrating printer experience, but just every interaction with the printer. Thankfully, these days I don't have to use many printers, but at university you were printing out coursework and you'd be printing out a 30-page document and you'd be missing page 27 for no discernible reason, or the printer would crash. Although one funny thing I do have about printers is that at university people would often expose their printers to the network. So me and some friends would often just send "I'm watching you" to random printers in the hope that it would get printed out in someone's room and they might then subsequently be as worried about printers as we are.